Next in Washington after Mueller More investigations, more division in an election. The long-awaited conclusion of Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election is likely to harden congressional Republicans' wall of support for President Trump, strengthen Democratic demands to hold Trump to account, and result in little change in public opinion, according to historians and politicians who have studied past national scandals. Mueller's conclusion: he found no evidence of collusion with Russia but was unwilling to exonerate on obstruction of justice, is likely to propel Washington into a period of prolonged and even more heightened partisan combat. The report, it may well be that a good portion of the Republican base will continue to see this as a witch hunt, said David Greenberg, a historian of the presidency at Rutgers University. In the past, Trump's supporters in Congress and around the country are likely to tighten their embrace of the president in light of Mueller's conclusion that he did not find evidence that Trump campaign staffers conspired with Russia to influence the 2016 election. The news already there's no middle on this divide on Trump, said Craig Shirley, a biographer of the late President Ronald Reagan and a former Republican political consultant. The report is Democrats, meanwhile, are likely to take Mueller's decision to describe the facts his staff uncovered about any possible obstruction without reaching any legal conclusions, as Barr put it, as an invitation to further investigation, just as past presidential scandals have led to congressional hearings. Even if both sides stick to their narratives in the coming months, stop the witch hunt versus what did the president know and when did he know it? That does not mean Mueller's work was pointless. The investigation, which has dominated the news and the president's attention for nearly his entire time in office, was always about far more than the particulars of which Trump campaign officials had what contact with Russians. Like Watergate, but prosecutors don't probe the nation's soul. They only search for. In one scandal after another in recent American history, the initial investigation has led to congressional hearings and even impeachment proceedings, which in turn have either chipped away at a president's support permanently for Richard Nixon, or solidified it. Both Bill Clinton and Reagan bounced back quickly from investigations. In recent years, the country's deepening partisan divide has dampened the impact of such investigations. When Republicans and Democrats called the 2-year investigation a witch hunt, Republicans said it showed that Clinton had misled the public and opinion polls showed that hardly anyone's mind was changed. The investigations into Trump's acts, both as a candidate and as president, will now move into a more freewheeling phase, as multiple congressional committees and federal prosecutors' offices look into a vast constellation of alleged misdeeds, including Russian efforts to interfere with the U.S. election, Trump's finances, his inaugural committee's fundraising, his family foundation, his business operations after he assumed office, and his alleged marital infidelities and payoffs related to them. Past presidential scandals tended to be either personal, such as Clinton's White House infidelities with Monica Lewinsky, or political, such as Nixon's campaign of dirty tricks and efforts to obstruct investigations. But the array of there's often a blurring of personal, old-fashioned corruption and more serious abuses of executive power in these investigations, Greenberg said. In Watergate, with Trump, Greenberg said, there are several things going on at once: the money, the sex, and Russia. Democrats on Sunday before the summary's release, both sides were already rehearsing the narrative of the coming period, with Democrats going on TV to say it is too soon to talk about impeachment and Republicans countering that the Democrats intend to impeach Trump no matter what. What Congress has to do is look at a broader picture, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Gerald Nadler DNY said on CNN. Senior Ted Cruz the prospect of at least another 20 months of investigations, allegations, and dueling narratives dominating the nation's debate and paralyzing its politics might not seem quite as exhausting if it carried with it the prospect of one side or the other winning over a clear advantage in public opinion. In past scandals, investigations, and a reshaping of popular views of the president have gone hand in hand, historians said. Similarly, Clinton's popularity bounced back after he was impeached, and some Republicans in Congress broke with their party to support the Democratic president because the constituents they represented did not believe Clinton should be impeached, Greenberg said. Now, the Clinton impeachment was the moment that hardened the political lines and made bipartisanship almost impossible, said Shirley. We're still living with yet a reckoning, and a political realignment and redefinition of both parties is underway, even as Trumpism remains a powerful force. Democrats are only after Trump leaves office will there be a more frank discussion within the Republican Party, Shirley said. People will make decisions.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park, pot.